How's it going, everyone? My name is True Underdog, and today we're looking at what many are calling the worst variation in Mortal Kombat 11. It looks like Cassie Cage really has drawn the short straw in this scenario because no one seems to like this variation one bit. So today let's go ahead and have a look at it and see if it really is as terrible as everyone's saying. As always, please request which character you want next in the comment section down below, and without any further ado, let's get to it. Alright, so this variation gives us access to a couple of new special moves. So we have this one. This attack I think has the most potential, so let's go ahead and start off with the escape moves, and then we'll end with this one. Now, as you can see, Glow Kick actually does have a crushing blow. It has to be a counter or a punish, and the distance doesn't matter, so that's already a lot nicer to me. I don't like how certain characters have to be a counter or a punish, and also at max range. That's just a bit too many hoops to jump through if you ask me. Alright, so here we go. First up, we have the escape moves. Oh my god, they cost meter now, so I was testing this build out before the patch actually dropped, and back then they didn't cost meter. Now they do? My goodness, by default too. You're not even choosing to spin the bar, it just happens regardless. That's kinda crazy. So characters like Cyborg had this in Injustice and they just got to have it for free, but she has to spend meter to do it. That's just crazy to me, and I don't believe this is actually good for extending combos either. Like, some characters can extend combos with it, but she can't even like recover soon enough to actually keep things going, so it's purely for mobility, and yet it still costs meter. That's already not good, and what made this move seem really good on paper is that you'd be like being pressured by the opponent, maybe landed down one, they're forced to block what you do next, and you're just out of there. That was the main idea. Then you go back to your zoning, and I'm not sure if this build's going to be that good for zoning as of yet, but that's the main idea. That's why she has these moves. She can retreat on a dime, but now she has to give up meter. That just sucks because now I only have one wake up. And if you start comboing me, I can't escape. I've given up a lot of very big defensive options right away just by trying to do this move, and it's just mobility. It's not even really an attack in of itself. I mean, it can start off combos, sure. But first and foremost, it's meant for mobility, not for combo extension or really starting combos either, so that's pretty ridiculous. My goodness. Can I do it in the air? No, I can't even do it in the air. That's crazy. I can buffer it, which is nice. That's kind of weird. I can hold the button down, you see that? And it comes out the second I touch the floor. That's kind of cool tech, but I don't think it's worth it when it costs one bar, so already that's not good. You gotta spend bar to retreat, you gotta spend bar to go in. Now it's only defensive bar thankfully, but honestly that's still too rich for my blood. If I played this variation, I would very rarely ever use this. It just doesn't seem very good. However, real quick, let's go ahead and see if it comes out on block, because I'm not even sure about that. Let's have the opponent block here and see if it comes out. Yeah, it does. Thank goodness. Okay, so it has that going for it. It's still a great way to retreat after a move that's plus or safe, so that's nice. You can still escape with it. But my goodness, cost you bar, that's just ridiculous. And keep in mind, if you're close, you don't even go that far behind them, so they can read that and still punish you. Because you can't block immediately after doing it. So you gotta be careful, it doesn't block right away. Honestly, doesn't seem very good. Let's go ahead and check out Glow Kick now. So the Glow Kick seems very interesting. It's very fast, and it can convert off this move very easily because the first half is already done for you. So you press back 3, and then you do forward and then 3. And you can complete the string. So that's really nice. They can be great in the neutral to just catch people at a round jumping distance. Now, it doesn't work outside of that, but the range on this thing isn't terrible. It's honestly pretty serviceable. It's not full screen or anything, but check out how this thing is on block. It's honestly not half bad. So up close, -8. But look at the spacing here. What 8-frame attacks do you know of that can actually reach me from this far away? So it might be technically punishable, but I don't think many characters have the range. I think even characters like Noob Saibot are going to have a tough time punishing from this distance. And then I think if you space it differently, it's even harder to punish because you're further away. So now I'm definitely not getting punished. So if you space this thing correctly, you're just not getting punished for it no matter what. So that can make it pretty darn good. It's basically a safe move that can be great for ending your strings, and she already has this, which if you spin the bar, you can be completely safe anyway, though I do believe this move now has a flawless block gap in it. At least that's what I've been told after the patch, so let's go ahead and check that real quick. I haven't looked into it myself, and the last time I took someone's word for it, I was completely wrong. So let's have Cassie Cage do this and see if I can find a gap in there. Oh yeah, 100%, so that's a risky move now. Against a good player, that's -14, that's a full combo punish. Oh yeah, that's a punish, so that's very, very scary to think about. So you don't want to do that move all the time, especially at high level, and certainly not offline. So now instead you end your combos with this. And you're still -8, which means it's no longer your turn, but in most circumstances, the opponent is not going to be able to punish you. So now it's honestly a better option, and that is one good thing about this build. And of course, last but not least, this move can crushing blow if it's a counter hit or a punish. Now what's the startup on it? 18, so chances are it's not going to be a punish, except maybe as a whiff punish, but most of the time you're going to get this bad boy as a counter hit. That's how you're going to get it. So let's see the damage. 23%. That's not too bad, and it's also exactly where you want to be, and it's plus 18, which means you can try and get this bad boy off. Now the opponent could interrupt you if they're fast, but you could try and set that up after landing this crushing blow. Now unfortunately, you can't combo into this thing. If you could, that'd be really sick as a crushing blow, but you sadly can't do that. Still, it is nice to have a crushing blow unique to this variation. That is one more nice thing about it, but I feel like most of the time this move is just going to be about keeping yourself safe on block and poking the opponent at around jumping distance. Though I should also mention the damage is pretty much the exact same as the flying kick, though you can't spin the bar. With the flying kick, you can choose to spin the bar and get a bit more damage, but this attack is flat out the exact same damage and also knocks the opponent very far away, so it's great for setting up the zoning that I do think this build is meant for. Now it's not very plus, but if the opponent doesn't have any good projectiles or teleports, any of that stuff, then you certainly could try and set up your zoning, but man, you recover super late. I can't even quite tell what the timing is yet. There we go. In theory, you could start off your zoning if the opponent doesn't have any far away options. That is also a thing. But last but not least, let's talk about the energy bounce. So this move is why a lot of people are calling this variation trash. It has some potential, I do think so, but it's very tough to set up and you absolutely cannot do it in the neutral. So this move, boink, it's a low attack. Very deceptive. Against players who've never fought this build, they're not going to expect that being a low, so it may catch people every now and then. However, on block, check out how good this move can actually be. So it is plus 24 on block. That's just crazy. So if you can find situations where you force the opponent to block this, you're honestly in really good shape. Now the issue becomes, you have to aim it for one thing, but also the opponent can get up before it even connects. Look at the startup on this thing. Very long. It says 24, it's much more than 24. I think it's like 60 or something before you can actually block. The startup is just ridiculous. Now after the first 24 frames, I believe the projectile is on screen and the opponent can't stop it from hitting them if it's already on its course. So that's kind of nice, but let's go ahead and test that real quick before I say anything. All right. Yeah, so once it's out, it's out. And that's nice. If I hit her, it can still trade with me. But if I catch her beforehand, it just won't come out. But once it's out, it's out. So that's kind of nice. That is one more good thing about this, is that once you reflect it off your drone, it's coming, and the opponent can't do a thing about that. So in the corner, it's going to be a bit more devious because they can't really escape it. However, in the neutral, there could be many ways to avoid it, like Liu Kang has the flying kick, and even Katana has her flying booty. So she can use that to close the distance and also get a counter hit on you, and in some cases a crushing blow. So it's still not good in the neutral. You have to do it off of crazy frame advantage, and one that I found was actually right here. So 3-4, and that 3 starts up in 8 frames, so the opponent does something punishable, you can totally reinforce this, and now you're at 24. So that's pretty darn good. You're at plus 24, you can run in and start your pressure. You have stuff like this, right? You have this, which combos for free, and also can be a crushing blow if they block incorrectly, which is a good thing because in this build, Cassie doesn't really have any combos. We'll talk about that a bit later in the summary, but the point is, if you can manage to set this thing up, and the opponent has to block it, you're very, very plus, especially in the corner where it's going to be an even bigger problem. Now unfortunately, I couldn't find too many situations where you were super plus on hit to reinforce it, so here you can guarantee that it comes out, right? But the opponent could still interrupt you with certain moves and fly past and avoid it altogether, so it's very, very scary. I can't really find too many situations where they have to deal with it. There we go. So maybe there you could also force them to deal with it, but that's 19 frames on startup. You're not catching the opponent with that, it's just not going to happen. So once again, I do think this move has a ton of potential, but it's extremely situational. And of course, one more option could be after a combo, like right here. That could work, but it's very, very situational. You absolutely cannot do it in the neutral. And even as a zoning tool, it doesn't seem very good. Like maybe you land this and you think, okay, I'm pretty plus now, I'm going to go for this, but it's not a very good idea, I feel like. Because what's that on hit? Plus 26, not too bad. What's that on hit? 32. So if you manage to land the meter burn version of this, you should be able to get this out free of charge, and now they have to deal with it, but there are so many ways to avoid it. They could teleport, they could just jump forward, any number of things, and they can still avoid it at far away. So I feel like the only time it's going to be good is in the corner or after some good hit advantage where they have to block it when they get up, and that's about it. Otherwise, they can just move away and avoid it. So it's very situational, but I do still think it has potential. And that's about it for this variation. It's not a very complicated build, but unfortunately, it's not just what it has, but more so what it's lacking. She no longer has any way to extend her combos. She does not have the low gunshots anymore. that can launch the opponent at the cost of 1 bar. She no longer has the drone explosion, which can also extend combos and keep the opponent standing. She has neither one of those. Instead, she relies on her meterless combo options. That's pretty much all she has to start off combos. And this can crushing blow, so it does have some potential to it, though. What's it like on block? I never tested that. -11, so completely punishable. Have to be very, very careful how you use this thing. So it's a very risky move, and now it's her go-to combo starter. Outside of that, not too many ways she can start off combos, maybe a jump in kick in the corner and things of that nature, but otherwise, you're very limited in what you can do. That doesn't even combo, huh? That's kind of crazy. I thought it did. Can I do that? Well, I can do that at least, so that's nice. She has very few combo options now. You could try to do this into like her kick. That works just fine. You still have the neutral too. She always has fantastic neutral, and that hasn't changed. She still dominates at around jumping distance and even further away now with the potential to zone in this variation, but honestly, she just doesn't have combos anymore, and that kinda sucks. When your character can't make the opponent hurt for every single mistake, that's a bit of a problem. So it's not necessarily the moves in this build that make it bad, though once again they are certainly lacking. It's also the fact that Cassie Cage loses access to some very good moves that she has in other builds. Now of course some people might argue that the first 2 builds are so good that it's completely okay if this variation is bad. I don't like that argument. I feel like every variation should be decent in its own right. Can it be worse? Yeah, sure, it can be worse, but it still shouldn't be terrible, and at the very least it should still have some favorable matchups. You shouldn't have a variation that's never going to be seen ever, especially competitively. Now thankfully this build is still very young. We haven't seen what pro players can do with it. Who knows, Sonic Fox might pick this build and show us how fantastic it can be. I do think it has setup potential. I think it might be really good in the corner, but outside of that, it does not seem like a very strong build, and some of its moves just don't seem very useful. So now's the part where you tell me your thoughts in the comment section down below. How do you feel about this variation? Do you think it's the most terrible in the game, or do you think it has some potential? Please let me know down below. And then while you're down there, go ahead and leave a like if you enjoyed the video. It really does help my channel out a ton. And finally, why not keep that combo going by subscribing and ringing that bell? That way you never miss a future video. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.